In 1850, John Root was born in Georgia, America. He grew up with his parents in Atlanta. However, when Root was about 11 years old, the American Civil War broke out. He moved to Liverpool with his father, while his mother stayed in Georgia. While he was in Liverpool, he noticed the work of an architect named Peter Ellis and was inspired to study architecture. Root returned to America and got an undergraduate degree at New York University. He then worked for John Butler Snook as a construction supervisor. In 1871, he moved to Chicago to work as a draftsman and soon met Daniel Burnham. They were perfect for each other. Root made the building designs while Burnham used them to actually make the buildings. Together, they made their own architectural firm. They worked with each other for many years and had several rising successes and downfalls, but overall had a pretty good business. In the early years of their building firm, America experienced economic downturns. Root then worked jobs outside of architecture. John Root and Daniel Burnham made many buildings for the city of Chicago. One of these buildings was the Montauk Building. However, there was a problem. The Montauk Building was tall, which meant it needed more resources, which meant that the weight of the building was significantly higher than the other buildings in Chicago. The soil in Chicago was pretty bad, and for something with that weight, the building would certainly sink. Fortunately, Root came up with a revolutionary design to combat the poor soil. He came up with the floating raft system, and he did it like this. Root would first dig out the area of the building, down until he hit bedrock. He would then interlace concrete and steel beams to make a foundation. This design would be used for years to come to further urbanize the United States. Outside of architecture, John Root was looking for a fine woman to marry. Luckily for him, he found the love of his life, Mary Louise Walker. Unfortunately, just 6 weeks after they married, Mary died of tuberculosis, and Root did not take this well. A couple of years later, he married Dora Louise Monroe and had a son with her, John Wellborn Root Jr. Dora's sister, Harriet Monroe, was responsible for writing John Root's biography. Anyways, back to architecture. During John Root and Daniel Burnham's successful businessing, they had a rivalry with Dankmar Adler and Louise Sullivan. They would compete for the most amount of building contracts they could get in Chicago. However, they all formed the Western Association of Architects to fight their common enemy, the East Coast Architects. Root was president of the association in 1886 and was also the director of the American Institute of Architects. He built many national landmarks and historical places across America. Meanwhile, there was a huge debate among the American states about who will build the world's Columbian Exposition. In the end, the main debate came between two states, New York and Illinois. After some democracy, Illinois won. Daniel Burnham and John Root were selected to direct the fair. They accepted the responsibility and chose to build it in Jackson Park. Burnham gathered a bunch of architects across the northern part of the United States to design all of the buildings for the exposition. And just like that, John Wellborn Root dies at the young age of 41. He wasn't able to finish designing his buildings for the World's Columbian Exposition before his death, nor was he even able to see the final product. His death certainly took a hit for Daniel Burnham as well as Root's family. Let us now honor John Root by looking at some of the buildings he designed during his lifetime.